The human girl chosen to become the bride of the most dangerous alien in the universe. They announced it on every screen in the solar system at once. A single line of white text on black, translated into every human language at the same moment. One daughter of Earth will be taken as consort to Varix 9, the Unmaker. Refuse and your species ends at the next rotation. No images. No voice. Just the words. And the knowledge that the sender had already annihilated 73 civilizations that answered no. My name is Mara Singh, 24 years old, junior xenobotanist on the Luna Agricultural Ring. I was elbow-deep in genetically modified kale when the announcement hit. The entire greenhouse went still. Even the automated sprinklers seemed to pause. Then the second message came, addressed only to me. Mara Amrita Singh. Habitation Ring 7, Sector 41, Luna. You have been selected. A shuttle will arrive in 6 hours. Do not resist. I laughed. It burst out of me like a cough. Everyone in the dome stared as if I'd gone insane. Because of course they'd chosen me. I was the only human alive who had ever spoken to Varix 9 and survived. 3 years earlier, during first contact negotiations at the edge of the Orion Arm, I had been the lowly aide carrying coffee to the diplomats. The Unmaker had stepped out of his obsidian ship alone, 8 feet tall, plated in living armor that bled starlight, eyes like collapsing galaxies. Every delegate had dropped to their knees. I, exhausted and under-caffeinated, had simply stared. He had looked at me for 7 full seconds, long enough for the translators to fail, long enough for the room to realize the most feared being in known space was studying a 21-year-old intern. Then he spoke, voice grinding like continents colliding. This one does not fear. And he left. Apparently that counted as courtship in his culture. 6 hours later the shuttle came. It was not a vehicle so much as a hole in space that opened above the greenhouse and swallowed me whole. No one tried to stop it. The governments of Earth, Mars, and the Belt had already voted unanimously. 1 life for 8 billion. They sent my parents a condolence fruit basket. I arrived inside a cathedral-sized chamber of black glass. Gravity was optional here. I floated in the center while the walls breathed slow auroras. Varix 9 waited on a throne made from the fused hulls of conquered dreadnoughts. He had removed his helmet. I don't know why that terrified me more than anything else. His face was almost human. High cheekbones, a mouth too wide, skin like moonlit mercury. But where a human's eyes would be, there were only slow-turning spirals of darkness that hurt to look at directly. You remember me, he said. Not a question. You're hard to forget, I answered. My voice didn't shake. I was proud of that. He rose. The throne dissolved into smoke behind him. I require a mate, he said. My species is dying. We reproduce by merging timelines with another sentient mind strong enough to withstand the collapse. Every candidate from every conquered world has shattered. You will not shatter. I laughed again, sharper this time. You could have asked for coffee. I do not ask, he said. I take. But I find I hesitate. Explain this hesitation. He was close enough now that I could feel the cold radiating from his armor. I should have been screaming. Instead I felt the strangest calm. The same calm I'd felt 3 years ago when he first looked at me. You hesitated, I said slowly, because I looked back. For a long moment the only sound was the distant heartbeat of his ship. Then he did something no intelligence report had ever recorded. Varix 9 knelt. One knee, armor creaking like glaciers. Teach me why I hesitate, he said. If you succeed, I will spare your species. If you fail, I take you regardless. Begin. That was the beginning of the strangest year of my life. He gave me an entire sector of his ship, a hollowed-out moon called the Grave of Suns. Inside, seasons changed at my whim. Cherry trees from old Earth grew beside lakes of liquid starlight. He visited every day at the same subjective time, appearing without doors, and asked questions. Why do humans sing when they are sad? Why do you plant seeds that will outlive you? Why did you not kneel? I answered as honestly as I could. Sometimes I screamed at him. Sometimes I ignored him for days. Once I threw a rock at his head. It vaporized a centimeter from his face, but he looked pleased. He began leaving gifts. A nebula compressed into a snow globe. The recorded final thoughts of a species that chose extinction over surrender. Beautiful, terrible poetry. A single perfect strawberry grown in soil made from the ashes of his enemies. I hated that I looked forward to his visits. Months in, I discovered the truth he had hidden. Varix-9 was not a conqueror by choice. His species, the Varixai, had once been scholars. They mapped multiversal timelines the way humans map genomes. But a rival civilization weaponized a paradox virus that began erasing Varixai bloodlines from history itself. The only defense was to anchor themselves to new timelines by merging with minds from fixed realities, ours. Each merging required absolute compatibility. Each failure killed the candidate and weakened the Varixai further. He was the last fertile male. 73 civilizations had been tested. 73 failures. I was attempt 74. And I was changing him. I saw it in small ways. He began sitting when he visited instead of looming. He asked permission before entering my garden. Once when I cried over a dead sparrow I'd raised from an egg, he reached out as if to comfort me, then pulled back, armor plates trembling. I asked him why he didn't simply force the merging. Because, he said, voice softer than starlight, if I take you without consent, the paradox virus wins. Force creates divergence. Only voluntary union stabilizes the timeline. Translation. He needed me to love him. I laughed until I couldn't breathe. The final test came on the anniversary of my arrival. He brought me to the heart of the ship, a sphere of absolute darkness where time did not exist. In the center floated a single strand of living light, his true name, he explained, unpronounceable by any species but his own. To merge, he said, you must take this into yourself willingly. If our minds are incompatible, both of us cease across all timelines. If we are compatible, he hesitated, that word again. We become something new. My people live. Your people live. And we continue. I stared at the strand. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Will I still be me? I asked. No, he said. But you will be more. I thought of Earth. Of my mother's kitchen smelling of cardamom. Of the greenhouse on Luna where kale grew under artificial suns. Of every human who would die if I said no. I thought of the monster who knelt. I reached out and took the strand. The pain was indescribable. Imagine every moment of your life happening at once, then being rewritten by someone else's memories. I saw the Varixai as they once were, gentle giants tending gardens of dark matter. I saw the war. I saw Varix-9's first kill, his millionth, his despair when he realized conquest was the only path left. I saw the moment he first looked at me 3 years ago and felt something he had no word for. I screamed. I burned. I shattered. And then I rebuilt myself. When I opened my eyes, our eyes, we floated in the sphere together. His armor was gone. He looked almost human now, skin warm silver. Eyes no longer voids but deep indigo shot with stars. Mara? He asked, voice trembling. I felt the strand inside me braided into my soul. I felt 8 billion human lives resting on my heartbeat. I felt the paradox virus dying, starved of the divergence it needed. I reached up and touched his face. You have a terrible pickup line, I said. He laughed. The sound was astonishing, like galaxies being born. We returned to the grave of suns. The cherry trees were in bloom. He walked this time, not teleported. His hand was warm in mine. Earth received a new message the next day. The debt is paid. The war ends. Your daughter has chosen. They never told humanity what it cost. Sometimes when the new moons rise over the garden he built for me, I catch him watching me with that same wondering expression he wore the day I didn't kneel. I still throw rocks at his head occasionally. He still lets them get within a centimeter before vaporizing them. And every year on the anniversary, we return to the sphere of darkness and renew the strand, just to make sure. Because love, it turns out, is the only force in the universe stronger than entropy. And the most dangerous alien alive learned that from a human girl who refused to bow.